Let's start off with how the JSE fared today. We are not too far away from the record high on the JSE All Share, ending the day off at 33,020 points. What is your view with regards to the overall performance of the JSE today?
Look, for today, it's relatively difficult to call it on a one-day basis. I would rather look at, say, the trend over the last couple of months or maybe even years and say, it's truly been a spectacular performance. I don't think there are many markets in the world that are trading very close to their all-time highs. The question is now, of course, whether we'll manage to kind of break through the all-time high level, which if we do, certainly a lot of the like chartists and some of the technical guys will certainly get very, very excited. I kind of do have my doubts. I think there are certain pockets of the market that is perhaps a bit oversold, mainly in the resources space, perhaps where there's slight value. But then again, you have the kind of the large multinational global shares like SAB, Richemont, etc. that has actually rallied very, very hard, and I think has certainly generated very generous returns for shareholders. And then you also have retailers and most SA domestic companies which has certainly exceeded most expectations and that are looking fairly expensive. So I think it's certainly been a very good performance indeed.
With regard, you're talking about some sectors being oversold. Which sectors are you looking at right now as offering value?
Look, value investors, I think, will probably be more inclined to go for some of the cyclical sectors, which will mainly include most of the commodity shares, Anglo, Billiton, perhaps some of the platinum companies. But unfortunately, the outlook is very uncertain, and cyclical companies will only do well once appetite for risk increases. It's hard to see that happening, but I think the more familiar we do become with the problems in Europe, with the problems in like the US, etc., I think we could perhaps see a little bit of a risk on rally, and then the sectors that will certainly rally most will, I think, be the Anglo-Americans, the BHP Billitons, and the sectors that will do worst will be those kind of shares that investors have been flocking to, BAT, SAB, some of the local retailers, for example.
Let's touch on some news out today. Giokos says full year headline earnings per share could be up by as much as 30%. A company that you would be looking at, Rhynhard?
Look, it's an interesting one. I mean, it's one of the smaller companies. To have earnings up 20 to 30%, I think in this operating environment is certainly very good. I think it is numbers that would have exceeded most analysts' expectations. I know that it is a company that likes a weaker rand, so their second half of the financial year would certainly have benefited from it because they manufacture locally and then mainly export, and that's things like diesel engines and industrial bearings, etc. I think if you look at the organic growth, though, I think that would be quite a bit lower, perhaps low double-digit growth, I think, at best, because they've made quite a few acquisitions in the past year, which would inflate the number. I don't think the company is expensive, and going forward into 2012, they also will have an extra maybe tailwind of further weakening of the rand. So I still think it probably looks relatively okay, having also done relatively well.
What is your view on Exxaro bidding for African Iron? Of course, it's an Australian listed company, but that company is surging after the news.
Yes, if you look at the share price of African Iron, I think it's actually halted now trading, and it will only trade again on Thursday. So the share's up about 20% in the past month, I believe. So there might be some truth to the rumours. Exxaro has been a company that's been relatively active on the corporate front. They did the mineral sands deal with Tronox. They did attempt to bid for like Territory Resources, also an iron ore company in Australia. I think there might be truth to it. I know that they want to control their own iron ore destiny and expand in the iron ore space. It's kind of really hard to say, but having said that, I know that the kind of the numbers that have been thrown around by the Wall Street Journal was something like $300 million US. Not very significant, I think, in like Exxaro's lives, and they certainly have the balance sheet to actually afford it. I don't think the market will like the deal. I think analysts will be concerned that they are going into a sector which is iron ore, which have done extremely well, and they might be a little bit late to the party. So I think initially expectations might be disappointed. Let's put it that way.